Okay, guys. Swampwatch 11420. You're at the Watchman page. I was called by God. Excuse me, called by God in 2014 to be a watchman. Basically, to warn as many people as I could, as quickly as I could, of some things that were on our horizon. The first ever worldwide economic collapse, the worldwide draining of the swamp, and the exposure of the worldwide pedophilia ring that's been running the world and basically is synonymous with the globalist agenda. Um, so those three things were shown as a way to protect his people. God wants us to know about physical silver and Litecoin. I made an announcement a couple of days ago that I have not been doing a very good job of explaining this whole thing. And it might be because of the timing, that he didn't want me focusing on the church in the beginning. He wanted me just to get people ready. I think that's probably why this went this way. It's not. It's basically our same message, but the focus for that silver and Litecoin, it's for God's people to build the foundation of his new church, which is basically his old church. Anybody who's done a deep study on Jesus in the Bible, uh, the Bible is not exactly what Jesus intended. Um, he what he called church was the way. Uh, Basically, it was not a building. There were no ministers. There was no hierarchy. It was spreading the word and talking amongst ourselves about these issues. You know, why are we here? What does it mean um, to do God's work? What does it mean um, to be a Christian? And basically, God wanted church to be in us every day, in everything we did. That our focus should be putting others first, living life in the service of others. That is a man's highest calling. And it's important because it has a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about next, which is discernment. And this is so important right now, guys. Um, so for people who are like-minded, who are looking for, and I actually have changed our announcement page for the live chats, because there are so many channels out there that are pushing fear porn and clickbait to get people to watch the videos, and they don't care that it's freaking people out. They just want to get the money. You know, there's nothing to be fearful of that's coming. There are some scary things coming, but there's nothing to be afraid of. I know that sounds contradictory, but they're scary sounding. They're not scary. There's nothing to be fearful of from what God has planned. It's for the betterment of mankind. Now, not with some change, there isn't going to be some disruptions and some upheaval. And that's why being prepared is so important. Um, I do have a personal announcement to make before I get into the meat of today's show. for 5 years now, over 5 years, I've been doing this. And most of you have probably realized that I don't talk a lot about my wife and how she's involved in this. And it's basically because she's not. And, you know, when she met me, I was a rodeo cowboy. It was a whole different life from what we've lived the last 5 years. And she's had a hard time with it. It's been tough for both of us because of that. So basically, what we're going to split up. She's not happy, and I don't want her here, and feeling obligated because of the stroke, and that she needs to take care of me, and I still love her, but it's not. When I got that message the other day, I was hoping what was going to happen was I could hold on until this thing all blew up, and then I thought I was going to go a totally separate way once everything hit, once the economy and we got through this, what's coming, that I was going to move on to something else, and that hopefully when we got to that point, it would make it better. Well, and with the confirmation I got, my life isn't going to change. This is going to be a lifelong job for me. We're going to take this from getting people ready to laying the foundation of the new church. God's not happy with church in its current form. Not happy with the Catholic Church. Not happy with the mega pastors. All these fat cats riding around in their jet planes, driving their fancy cars, living in mega mansions. That's not God's idea of how this is supposed to go. God wants the people to earn their money on their own merits. And that's what this is about. Because the people that are called here are the people that God wants the new wealth to be in our hands. You know, part of the reason that we're in the boat we're in right now is this globalist group of satanic pedophiles has had the money and the power for thousands of years. And that's how they've kept rule over us, because they controlled the systems. They made a mistake. A huge mistake. They really, they underestimated us. We've got the power back for a moment. And if we don't take this power and use it, you know, the easiest way to just break this down in the simplest form, you're either going to be, it's good or evil. That's where we're headed. This is what's going on right now in the spiritual, the ultimate Armageddon between good and evil. That's what's being played out. You might be able to coast and not pick a side and let others do the heavy lifting and the work. And that's okay for some people. If you're not up to it, you're not up to it. But for those of us who are, now's the time. Like I keep saying, guys, you're going to look back at this video in a year and have a completely different understanding of what I'm talking about. Because it's so fantastical. Well, let me finish. Anyway, with my wife and I, it just, we're so different at this point. And, you know, she wants to travel. She wants to do other things. And I'm doing this. That's not going to change. So, and I keep telling her she's going to thank me in 90 days because she's going to have the life she wants. And I'm going to be able to do the work I'm doing. So anyway, it's amicable. Everybody's going to be fine. But I wanted to at least lay it out there so you guys knew, because, it is what it is. And it's for the best for everyone. So, moving on. Discernment. There is probably, as these are big times. I can't say it enough. I can't do it justice with my words. Any way I could describe it is going to be far short of what's coming. So I'm not even going to try. It's huge. It's monumental. I believe God's coming back in the next, in this decade. For sure, I think in this decade. I don't want to say any more. It's going to be several years off, I think. I don't think it's going to happen in the next couple of years. But I think it's coming. And I think that's what all of this is leading up to, this whole shift. I mean, think about this for a second. In Iran, where the mainstream media is trying to tell you that the people were mourning Soleimani, the butcher, the pedophile. I don't even want to get into who this guy really is. He's a monster. The people hated him in Iran. They've been protesting there for months now, and the mainstream media won't cover it. They don't want you to know the truth. Iran's ready to change regimes there. The Khomeini is about ready to get hung in the streets. He's going to have to leave, or they will hang him. That's where this is headed. They shot 1,500 of them in the streets last week, and there was 1 million in the streets this week. That's where this is headed. Look at Hong Kong. Look at China, Venezuela, Brazil, Spain, Portugal, Italy, in the Ukraine. 20 countries around the world at least the people are fed up. Watching President Trump work has emboldened them. Q has, something I think was, well, they're brilliant if they knew it was going to hit the whole world, because I never even imagined that this would impact the EU. And it has a huge impact, the biggest impact. And it's happening all over the world. This is more than just an economic collapse and the swamp draining. This is removing this evil, removes the cause for 90% of the world's problems. Imagine living in a world with 90% less problems, and everyone in the world makes a great living. Think about that, because that's where we're headed. We're headed for true freedom around the world. Communism is going to be done. Within 10 years, communism's done. Everything that I've been talking about, things I wasn't sure, but I just, in my gut, I knew were coming. They're coming. But we got to get there. We're headed to heaven on earth, but the problem is the variables. Is that even if President Trump has got this 100% under control, which I think he does, and he's got the Marines and the National Guard and the supply chain ready to continue, we're going to get through this fine. But there may be some civil unrest in certain areas. It's probably going to be more prevalent in the liberal communities. We have to be ready for those things. There could also be some earth changes. Now, I believe, and I've talked to other people about this too, who think the same way, that the suffering is going to be kept to a minimum. Even around the world, where I see the globalists, control most of the world as far as the countries go. You figure out the numbers. it's America and Russia and a handful of other countries that have kicked the central bankers out. That was what that whole Arab Spring was about. You notice that the countries that they targeted, I think there were 7 Middle Eastern countries that were targeted. They've gone through this chaos that we've created over there. And I think they were all the ones that didn't have central banks. So where do you think that came from? It was, 100% satanic globalist operation to destabilize the Middle East and the whole 9 yards. We know the story. The most important thing when we're doing this work is discernment. And I've talked to you guys about keeping an open mind. And that's why this show, I think, is so important, because if you don't have your grounding, your base solid, it's gonna be easy for them to fool you. And trust me, guys, they are going to try and fool us because they know this is going south for them. They're not going to be able to overpower us. They're not going to win it that way. They're going to win it by tricking us, by getting us to fall for something that is made to look like it's good for us, but is really a trap. There's all sorts of talk about, an alien invasion or the second coming that is faked to make us let our guards down. The chance of something like this working is, at this point in time, with as many people that are woke up, it's minimal. Everything is possible. 2%, 1%. It's unlikely. And it's more unlikely the more people that are woke up, because that's the only way they're going to pull this off. And the only reason it scares me a little bit is that because a lot of people who think they're woke up really aren't. And if you're truly using discernment, it's going to be a lot easier for you to figure this out. So for this lesson right now, for this argument, let's just take the Bible and religion out of the equation. Let's start from scratch. Forget about everything you've learned in the past. And let's just start as basic, good-minded human beings. I don't think there's anyone out there that would argue that living your life in service to others would be a main proponent of Jesus. I don't think there's anyone that could argue that. The easiest way for these people to get us is by inserting someone who is going to say most of the right things, but get a pretty good chunk wrong, 15, 20%. And the things they get wrong sometimes are the most important things. So when you're faced with a situation, like say something blows up and there's 2 competing factions, no matter what. This goes with me too, guys. You guys should use this same thing on me. With anybody you listen to, you need to use this. Are the things that I'm saying in line with, because what we're going to find when all the smoke clears is that forget all of the distraction and confusion and focus on what's right. In almost every situation you're in your life, there's a right decision and a wrong decision. And most of us know the difference between right and wrong. And it's a fairly easy, and especially in big, important situations, it's generally, for me at least, pretty easy to figure it out. Let's see. Take citizens' guns or don't take citizens' guns. Well, you know what side I'm on. Virtually anything that goes against our Constitution, unkosher, not cool. I think that what we're going to see with President Trump is things like these infringements on our constitutional rights by spying on us. I think those things are going to be removed. But I'm going to be the first one to say, if they don't happen pretty quickly, after this all blows up, we have to start questioning it. Anything that's against our Constitution, anything that doesn't fit into the right and wrong equation, we need to take a really hard look at it. Now, that doesn't mean that that it's wrong, and I'm going to give you some examples because everybody knows I'm a big supporter of President Trump. I believe in my heart that the hand of God is on him, guiding and protecting him, like he is our country. That doesn't mean that I won't question a decision. It's a red flag if it's something that doesn't fit what I see, right? Now, what we'll find sometimes, and what I've personally found early on, I said, I will never criticize President Trump. Unless there's something obvious that needs to be criticized. And he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. There was a couple of times early on where I thought he made mistakes. And in my mind, never said a word. In my mind, I'm going, Jesus, I don't know. 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, oh, Jesus. The perfect move to make at that time based on the information that he had. All of us, none of us, you don't know what you don't know. So all you can do is base your decision on the knowledge that you have at the time. And that's why I keep telling you guys it's so important for you to do your own research. You shouldn't be depending on me to do it for you, because I want you to question my motives. That's why I've taken the steps I've taken to make sure that everything is pure. You're not going to find anything here. There's no secrets. I mean, that's why I'm talking about my marriage, because you guys should know it. You know it, we move on. It's the same thing with anyone, with President Trump, with anything you see, because what we have to learn, and what we are definitely going to learn from 9/11 and JFK's assassination that are coming out. That video, if you haven't seen, it's a rich man's trick. It's on the Watchman page. It's on my personal page. Everyone, it's a must watch. If you're serious about helping your family in the world, you have to watch this video. It's the most complete, concise way to get your foundation. I put it out yesterday, the day before. It's a red pill challenge. You can't watch that video and not be woke up and have an IQ over 40. It's that simple. It's like I said, a lot of these videos, including probably some of mine, can be tedious to get through. I mean, this one was, for me, was riveting. You know, and I watch a lot of videos, so it's got to be pretty good to get my attention, because I've seen most of this stuff. And the thing was, I had seen everything in that video, and what fascinated me was that even though I'd seen it, they presented it in a way that kept me engaged and wanting to hear their take on all of this. So a must see. You got to watch it. It's 3.5 hours, and I'm telling you, it would take you 60 hours if you were just going to go out on your own and try and garner that information on your own, fumbling through. 60 hours minimum, and you probably wouldn't get the full effect, because it hits you in such a unified manner, concise, consistent. It was brilliant. You guys got to watch it, and you got to show it to your friends. This is one where you can sit down with 3 or 4 people and watch it. And I don't think there'd be a lot of talking because the people that see it, please put in your 2 cents because let me know if you think it's as good as I did. It's going to change things, guys. It's our new. It's better than the AE 9/11 Truth, and those guys are great. But this was put together in mind of the best way to grab people's attention. Because I can say it a million times: if nobody's listening, we're not doing any good. We got to get it in front of people in a format that's going to engage them and hold their attention. And it certainly does that. It did it for me. So back to the discernment. It's not like what with me. I think what happens with a lot of conservatives is we were so gun shy from what's happened in the past that we're ready to throw a punch at the first sign, right? Shoot first, ask questions later. We can't do that. That's what they want. That's what all of these distractions are about. They want to get us wound up on edge so that when they come up with their big trick, we all jump in with both feet. Analyze everything. I am a victim of this myself. 9/11 is a perfect example. You're going to find out that planes did not fly in. At least the planes they told us didn't fly in. They have CGI that's so good. It was either rockets or drones. Those weren't commercial airliners that hit those buildings. And I saw it live TV, my own 2 eyes, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I can tell you this time, whatever they have coming, alien invasion, second coming of Christ, I'm going to sit back and I'm really going to look hard and I'm going to give it days before I jump in with both feet because I'm going to be damn sure that this isn't another trick because they're really good at their tricks. And they try and fool you with all this clown show and circus that's so lame. Really, it's embarrassing how bad it is. They've got something more convincing up their sleeves, trust me. And they're saving it for the right moment. Now, once we get these people behind bars, that moment is pretty much gone. Now, we've got to keep our guard up. We want to make sure some big event happens. Don't because they're arrested, because Obama and Clinton. Because remember, Obama and Clinton aren't really the top dogs. They're puppets. It's the Rothschilds, the Pacers, the Rockefellers. It's all of the big money. And that's why that executive order is so big. Look it up, 12/21/17. It's the executive order that allows a government to seize the assets of any corporation or individual involved in human trafficking or corruption. That's how they're going to take down all of the people that have the 99% of the wealth in the world right now are going to be penniless and either dead or at Gitmo in a year from now. That's where this is headed. And that 99% of wealth is going to be returned to God's people sevenfold what's been taken from us. That 99% is what they've been stealing from the world for the past several thousand years. This was supposed to be the end game. And guess what? They blew it. We just have to keep our guard up. We just have to keep moving forward. We just have to understand that discernment is our most important quality right now. We need to super focus on discernment and analyze everything we're watching, everything we're being told, especially the big things. And you can see this, guys, if you really sit back and you watch, like McCain. I knew McCain was dirty right away. You just don't do the things he was doing. He handed that election to Obama on a platter. He had a pit bull in Palin, and you know what he said? I knew this was a setup when he said it. Well, we have to respect the process. We don't want to taint the process. That was his argument for not letting her go rogue, which is what he should have let her do. Should have turned her loose. But he didn't do it. And then the media gave Obama a free pass. I knew they were in on it. Because the things that are coming out were legitimate questions. Okay, well, you're saying he's born here. Let's see it. No, but you were a racist if you questioned it. When you start getting those kind of answers, you better start questioning what's going on. And for Christians, be wary. Be wary of where the false prophets are coming from. You're going to find, like the Pope, people that you thought were pious, were good. There's a lot of mega pastors that are going down. It's hard to in my opinion. And when I look at these people, they're phonies. They're going to be exposed for what they are. They're going down. And a lot of them are involved. They've been signed on. The globalists signed them up. The celebrities. They've all made contracts with the devil. These are pure Satanists. They worship Satan as their God. You can't torture and sexually assault, torture, and murder a child and be a normal person. These aren't normal people. This takes it to a whole nother realm. That's why they're finished, because even the craziest liberal lunatics are not going to accept this. They're not going to accept their children being butchered to further their satanic agenda. Not going to fly, and they know it, and that's why they're so scared. That's why they fought so hard to keep Epstein under wraps and the Nexium case and get us focused on the impeachment. It's all about the mother of all bombs. It's what they're doing. It's these satanic pedophiles. That's the mother of all bombs. It's the silver bullet. They know it kills them. They can't overcome that. Once that's out, and it's out there. Once they're down, once they start the arrest and that's out, it's over. They can't come back from that. The bank systems are done. That's why when you look, you go back and look what I was saying 5 years ago. I'm saying the same thing today. You look at the world 5 years ago, and yeah, I look like a lunatic. To people who have an IQ over 50, that aren't brainwashed, that have an open mind, I'm looking a little bit different. Because every single thing that I talked about 5 years ago is happening right now. I can give you 3, 4, 5 items around the world to show you that it's happening. You have to look when you're looking at people and you're using your discernment. What is their track record like? Are they consistently pushing service to others? Are you consistently pushing the Constitution and our rights and smaller government and what our founders intended? Because that's in complete opposite to the globalist satanic agenda. So when you have somebody pushing that way, that's who you want to initially start with, and then you tear everything they're doing apart. You should be tearing everything I've done the last 5 years apart. I welcome it. I welcome the scrutiny we're going to be under in promoting this new church, because these people who have something to gain, who are driving these $300,000 cars and living in a $20 million mansion, people like that, what are they doing? Are they living God's church every day? Are they out there every day talking to people about what's happening, what's coming? Because they all know what's coming, but they're on the other side. 85,000 Christian pastors in America sold us out. The clergy response team. They were being paid by FEMA to, when this all came down, to get us to go to FEMA camps using Romans 13. Any authority, basically, paraphrasing, any authority given is given by God. So that means that you should obey that authority because God sanctioned it. Yeah, think about Hitler. Hitler had authority. How did that work out for Germany and the Jews? And everybody else that they wanted to get rid of. The Armenians, the Gypsies, the unfit. The mental institutions got cleaned out. The people that had illnesses, yeah, you're going too. That's their idea of a efficient society. There's no compassion. There's no humanity. It's all about one thing. It's fear, division. They feed off of it. What do you think all these wars are about? Yeah, they make a lot of money and they spread a lot of fear. It's a win-win for them. We're headed to the end of war in our world. Once this evil is defeated, think about it, 90% plus, I think 95% at least, is good in our world. It's the influence of that 5% that's about to be eradicated that's caused all of our problems. Well, 95% of our problems. And I can live with that. We're not going to ever live in a perfect world. But we're going to have the closest thing we can based on what's coming. And, you know, what the opportunity we have here. It's ours to take. The only way they win now is if we just walk away and let them have it. I'm not walking away. I'm in this till the end, or at least till God says it's the end. You know, and hopefully, I mean, if I get to see the end of this, if that's 5 years down the road and then I'm gone, I am 100% good with that. Because, trust me, for the rest of your lives, think about this. For the rest of your lives, people are going to talk to you, especially if you were involved in anything that's going on like we are. They're going to ask you what it was like. Even the people who just lived through this. You know, 50 years from now, they'll still be talking about this. This is going to be the most talked about 10 years. The previous 5 and the coming 5. The most talked about in human history. Analyzed forever. Thousands of years. It's the most important 10 years in human history, bar none. Where would you rather be? Think about it. You know, if you want to do good, you're never going to have a greater opportunity than right now. Because if you can get the guy who mows your lawn to put $50 into Litecoin, in 5 years he's going to be a millionaire. It's going to change his life forever if you can get him to do that. And he's going to be able to help others at the same time. He's going to be in a position maybe to do some of the things he wishes he could do. You know, a lot of us don't help because we don't have the means to help. God's going to put the means in our hands. Then it's going to be up to us. You know, and there's going to be no hierarchy. This is a complete honor system. Those that do the right thing are going to be rewarded in the world. You know, it's pretty simple, guys. And here's the thing. I've said over and over, you know, for 40 years, nearly 40 years, I was able to do something that I loved. It's insignificant to what's coming. It's insignificant to do this work. It's the hardest thing I've ever done and the most rewarding thing I've ever done, and I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, yeah, it could be a lot smoother, but as far as going through this process, anything that I've experienced, and sometimes it hasn't been easy, I would do again in a heartbeat. Not even a second guess, not even a second question. I'm in right now. And when you see what's coming, you're going to understand what I'm saying because it's magical. Um, it's everything we could hope for. I keep saying I couldn't write a better script. Every day it gets more fantastic, and I keep saying I couldn't write a better script. And every day that goes by, we get closer, and I see bigger things happening. And that's why I keep saying, this cannot go on like this, guys, without it blowing up. We're at the 14th. I don't see us getting to the end of the month. Listen, the trade deal is supposed to be signed tomorrow. I think there's going to be this is not going to be signed. It's a game. It's a ruse. They knew it wasn't going to be signed. They're trying to drag this out because they know when they admit that there isn't a deal and a deal is not going to get signed, that's going to blow the economy up. And that's tomorrow. Look at what's happening with Litecoin right now. It's $60. It was at 42 or 4 2 weeks ago. Remember I said, get ready. What's going to happen is you're going to see it start to ramp up, and then, because what's happening is all of the crooked money that knows what's coming now is pouring the money in at the last minute, and then it's going to be like a bomb, a rocket going off, because then it's going sky high, because when the economy crashes, that's when you're going to see the real moves. Because then there's no other option. Then the manipulation's over because it's Katie bar the doors. It's the jig's up. The cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows now this is all a scam. All that paper crap is worthless. So you better get into something real. Cryptocurrencies and precious metals, which for us, having advanced knowledge, Litecoin and silver. You're going to make 8 times your money over gold with Litecoin, with silver, and Litecoin is multiples better. That's why I recommend shifting more Litecoin than silver, because I think Litecoin is going to get you more on your money. So I think you got to have some just to get through, because we have to have 200 or 300. That's a minimum. $300 in junk silver, which are Roosevelt dimes. If you buy $250, $300 worth of Roosevelt dimes, and as much Litecoin as you can, I think you'll do very well. But I've got more silver because, well, honestly, it's because in the beginning, I wasn't sure about cryptocurrencies. God. And this is just the point. If I make mistakes too, because I didn't pick up on Litecoin at first. I thought Bitcoin. And God kept putting it in front of me, and I kept ignoring it. I was stubborn. And it was a good lesson for me, because now I understand that it's not like he's going to hit me with a hammer every time. It's the consistency. It's just in my face all day long until I finally, and dive in, and then, oh shit, I should have been buying Litecoin. And that cost me, it cost us a lot of pain, because we would have been in a lot different position right now if I'd have listened from the message in the beginning. The pain, the economic pain, and it's not pain, guys, it's things have been tight a little bit because I made choices. It's more important to not basically the what we put aside for our retirement to spend it now if we don't have to. So we tightened our belts instead and made that choice, and it's going to pay off. It's happening right now. So there's and I go through this with the new people almost all day now because they keep getting sidetracked by these distractions. And it's always the impeachment, it's the Second Amendment, it's all the crap they're throwing out there to look over here. Don't look at Epstein. Don't look at silver and Litecoin. Because they don't want us looking at the things that are going to help us. They want us to waste time, because any minute you spend on that is taking away from a minute that you could be spending on doing positive research, whether it's to help you convince somebody else or to convince yourself. You should be doing it. And then once you get the handle on it, then is when you really want to push hard as far as your approach and going after your friends and your relatives. Because when you are comfortable with the information, it's a lot easier to talk about it, right? And it's a very difficult situation, especially for people who aren't used to doing that. I understand, guys. It's not easy to talk about these things, especially when you're uncomfortable talking to people like this in the first place. And then when you get into the subject matter, it makes it even tougher. So don't be hard on yourselves if you're having a hard time with this, but just go back to the basics. If you're struggling, you can't ever go wrong by digging. Knowledge, more than ever in history, is what's going to be the difference between the people who just get through this surviving and the people that come out of the other side of this thing roaring, that are making investments in things that are going to generate more to help more. It's going to be a snowball, so that we will end homelessness. We will end hunger. We will end every problem that we have in the world today that been created, falsely created, by these monsters pushing the global warming agenda, the whole climate hoax crap that they were using to control us. And it's been going on for 60 years, 100 years. All of the smog control bullshit that they have in California, these liberals. You know why I started liberal? Listen, carbon dioxide is good for us. It's all crap. They're spraying stuff in the air to kill us. They're trying to start an ice age, is what they're trying to do. Listen, in 5 years, smog control devices will be gone because it's all been a scam. They don't do a damn thing. We have no control over the atmosphere. The earth controls that. It warms up, it's because we're traveling through a different part of the system. It's just part of the world. That's how it goes. Look at history. There's fluctuations up and down. There's more, what they're trying to prevent, there's more of it in a volcano in a week than mankind has ever produced in history. But they want to convince you the other, because then they can make you spend 1,000 more on a car or 50,000 more on your house. Now, if energy was free, what would be the point? You could run the furnace all day. Doesn't cost you anything. Now, you might want to be more efficient to make it last longer, but they got stuff that can run all day, 24/7 for years. 0 point energy, guys. It's coming. The reason they didn't want to release most of this stuff, because we're easier to control when things aren't good. If things are good, how are they going to control us? They've got to create the problems. They've got to cause the divisions and get us all riled up and create these false programs, get us to believe this crap, and jump on the bandwagon. Like they use patriotism against us. And this is where I'm going next. 9/11 was an attack on our patriotism. They used our patriotism against us with the 9/11 attack. It was the sole purpose was to get us all jacked up. We're going to go get them, but we went after the wrong guys. We should have been after the guys who caused this. Our deep state, the deep state in Saudi Arabia, the deep state in Israel. That's what it is. It's the rogue governments in those three countries who are responsible for 9/11 and the globalist agenda and the whole deal. So it's more complex than individual countries, and that's been going on for since the Second World War or before. It's nothing new. So, where are we in time? No, okay, all right. I don't want to go too long, but I do want to finish this up. So, so think about this for a second. So, because of our patriotism, they led us into the slaughter. Look at how many, and this is not just 9/11 because they do it every time. All these wars, the last 300 years, every war has been a globalist engineered event to make money off their war machines. That's what it's been about. And controlling us. And it's over. And we just need to finish it. But we have to be ready. But the point I wanted to make was there's several things. And let me see if I can make, because this is a really important point. And it's kind of complex. There are things that these monsters have created. This deep state, this satanic globalist pedophile ring to turn against us. We're going to find out that the Bible was one, the internet was one, social media was one, and our patriotism to a certain degree was one. They wanted to build up the pride in us so that we would fight for that pride. And then I think Pearl Harbor was the same thing, honestly. They knew that attack was coming, and they didn't let Hawaii know because they want it to be a massacre. They want it to be heavy casualties because the more casualties, the more wound up people get. And 9/11 was even better because you got to watch it on TV with my own eyes. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker. It's made me extra cautious now. It was a good lesson that we all need to learn. Learn from my mistakes. Don't let it happen again because they're going to try and use it again. We got to be smarter this time around. And let me tell you, it's funny. All of these things are now being turned back against them. They created the internet. The internet is their biggest mistake because it left an option, and that's why they understand now they screwed up because that's why you're seeing all the censorship because they realized too late that, oh my God, these people are smart enough to beat us. We better get to work. That's what it's about. It's all being turned back on them. The Bible is being turned back on them. Our patriotism is going to be turned back on because now that they got us all jacked up and they got us pointing towards the Muslims, right? Well, the Muslims, they're created to be a part of this. I told you it's been going on since Babylon. Here's your evidence. Think about this. Who in their right mind is going to follow people that believe murdering their spouses, pedophilia, and raping children, little boys, is okay and throwing gays off of buildings and bestiality. This was created to be something that Christians and Jews couldn't ignore. That we would have to stand up eventually to this because it can't be allowed in our world. This isn't a religion, guys. This was something that was fabricated to come to a head right at this point in time. And they had the timing pretty damn good, but they made a few miscalculations. And God is making them pay. So instead of being like me in 9/11, we're going to be a little bit more careful and look deeper into the whole picture instead of the flash that they want us to see. What's behind it all? That's what you have to look at. That's why watching what somebody does is more important than what they're saying. You know, because if they say, you know, oh yeah, gun rights are great, gun rights are great, gun rights are great, gun rights are great, and then they take your guns, or try to take your guns, or introduce legislation that could lead to taking guns, the red flag's got to go up, right? You have to look for something that's contrary to the general message, their general message. It's contradictory to their general message. If I ever tell you that it's okay to start any kind of violence that isn't in self-defense, you know, it's not me talking. Because, you know, where this world is going, let's not talk about what anybody else says. I'm just going to tell you where it's going. That we're going to have complete freedom, which means that we are free as long as we're not, and the laws are going to be very minimalistic. There's not going to be a penal code that's 10 feet tall or more, and it is more than 10 feet tall. It's going to be pretty simple. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, you know, if it's something like a helmet law, if it's like not wearing your seatbelt, all that crap's gone. You know, if you're smoking, obviously you're not going to smoke in an environment that can hurt somebody else. I completely agree. That should not happen. But you want two people in their own home, in the privacy, you know, do whatever you want. I don't care. I mean, if you're not hurting anyone, that's what freedom is. Is that as long as you're not hurting anyone else, it's not for me to say it's right or wrong. It's not for the government or the church to say it's, well, the church is a little bit different story, but if you're living your life in service to others and you love whoever you're with, and it's not a child, it's an adult, I'm all for love. You know, I could care less. That's for God. That's above my pay grade. That's for God to decide. If that's wrong, God's going to tell him it's wrong, because I'm not going to tell him. Because by the God that I know, if it's true love, and you know, that's not my business to say. Having sex with a child, I got something to say about it. That shit ain't going to happen. Not when I'm around. There's certain lines you don't cross. And, you know, assaulting someone, murdering someone. You know, I mean, it's pretty common sense here, guys. And here's what we have to understand. Most of these laws were created. It's a control structure. They keep piling on these laws. Pretty soon you can't walk down the street without breaking a law. Should it be against the law to jaywalk? I mean, come on. If there's no cars coming, speed limit, hey. But here's what we are going to have to understand. When we go to this system, you're going to be held accountable. If there's no speed limit, except for what's safe, and that's going to be what the speed limit is, like Nevada used to be, you're responsible. You're going too fast for your car or too fast for the conditions, and you get in an accident that hurts somebody, you're going to be held responsible for that. You concealed carry, and your gun goes off, or you make a mistake, you're going to be held accountable. And it's going to go back to intent. If it's an honest mistake, there's going to be. We're going to go back to what the law used to be. Intent used to be pretty important in the law. I mean, it was you had to have intent to convict somebody of a crime. Well, that's all changed now, and it's changed because they've tacked so many of these laws on that they can't hold people guilty because nobody knows about them. And they may have been doing something completely innocent, and they're in prison for 10 years because, and they have to kind of follow through every once in a while, because if it's going to be effective when they need it, they got to use it. But you notice they're not using it against their buddies. They're always using it against one of us. Guys, I put on the announcement, fear porn free. We are fear porn free because there is nothing to fear from what's coming. If you're physically, mentally, and spiritually prepared, all of those things, you just can't be physically prepared. You just can't have your Litecoin and silver. That's not going to cut it. You got to be prepared mentally and spiritually. Because there are things coming that are going to challenge your intellect and your spirituality. So, and JC keeps saying, we're going to see good people get better and bad people get more evil. So the people that are drawn to this site, you're on the right path, because coming here, we're trying to get you to commit to getting on this path, and it flows right into the paying it forward part of our message. That's us. Paying it forward is the foundation of the new church, which is Jesus's old church. Paying it forward is the foundation. We're not paying for buildings unless it's a building for a homeless person to live in. We're not paying for a building and spending money that could go to people that need it. We're going to put it out in the streets. We're not going to give it to a minister or a bishop or a pope. We're going to put it in the hands of the needy, of the people, where it's going to have a direct impact on their lives for the better. Instead of getting funneled through and then 10% of it maybe. Look at what happened in Haiti. That's what happens when the evil runs the world. They said, 5% of that, those billions of dollars, maybe trillions, who knows? That's what happens when evil is in charge. That's why God wants the money and the control in his people's hands, in the people that are committed to paying it forward, to putting it into the foundation, because that's paying it forward. I guess the simplest way to say it is paying it forward is building the foundation of the new church, because then that influx of all of this cash at the perfect time in history, we're taking that 99% away from the butchers, and it's going to be in our hands to pay it forward. The ones who are insightful enough to see this coming, spiritual enough to see it coming, spiritual enough to carry through with this and do the right thing with it. That's what this is all about. They're taking the system they set up to take 99% of our wealth and put it in their hands, is now going to rip it out at the last minute. I mean, if you brought this movie to Hollywood, they would run you out on a rail. It's you just can't make up a story like this. But think about it, guys. And I'm hoping, now listen, my job is to get you prepared. So don't go overboard with this. I have had the underlying feeling, and it's growing every day. Now, 5 years ago, I didn't have this feeling. But today, I have the feeling that 95% of us are going to get through this with flying colors. That doesn't mean, the ones, again, who are prepared are going to thrive. The ones that aren't, you're going to be the middle class. It's not a bad thing. You're the world, for the people who don't get it, who get through it, are going to be in 100 times better world. They're going to make 5 times the money. They're going to take twice as many vacations. They're going to spend more time with their kids. The kids are going to be raised by parents again instead of being raised by the schools. This whole system was set up so that they got control of our kids. And they knew that it wouldn't take very long once they had the kids. And look where we're at. If we would have gone one more generation, it would have been too late. There wouldn't have been enough of us awakeable to make this happen. The timing was perfect. I don't think it could ever happen before or after. You don't see God's hand in that? It is biblical. It's not going to be exactly biblical, and that's why I want you Christians, you hardcore Christians, to keep an open mind. Use your discernment. Don't follow blindly the Bible, because there are things coming that are put in there to fool you. Look at the origins of the Bible. Look where it really came from. If Jesus handwrote the Bible, I would be the first one to say it's gospel. Jesus did not handwrite the Bible. It came about, Council of Nicaea, 330, I think, AD. The Emperor Constantine. Think about this. Emperor Constantine is the one that oversaw the creation of the Bible. This wasn't a holy man. This was an insider. This was a ruler. Right away, my spidey senses go up. My red flags go off. This is where you need to use discernment. That's why I encourage you guys to look at the history of the Bible, because most Christians can't tell you. They don't know. It was the Jews and the Catholics who wrote the Bible, guys. Most Christians can't tolerate much. They wrote it. They taught it for, I was raised Catholic. Did the Catholic teach the rapture? They don't. And they're the ones who wrote the book. So I'm telling you, there's evidence to give me pause, to use my critical thinking skills. And my critical thinking skills tell me that there are more tricks coming, and I got to be on my toes, and I'm going to use my discernment very carefully, and then follow my nose. That if it's something that's outside of living in the service of others, we know something's up. And that's got to be how you get through this, guys. And the good thing is we have each other to work through this. We're not on our own. That's the other thing about the Watchman. And trust me, guys, I plan, this is moving forward. The Watchman doesn't end with the takedown of the swamp and the eradicating this evil. I thought it did, but it doesn't. This is my mission in life, is to help people understand what God's church really is. That's what this is about now. And continue to do good, continue to set that example so that, and I don't think it's going to take much, because it's common sense. Let's see, let's take, for example, what I'm talking about versus the Muslim religion. Read the Quran. Look at what I'm saying. Tell me who you would follow if it's a choice between these two. These are your two options. Anybody that has ill will towards their fellow man, you got to run from. Anybody that promotes war, you got to run from. The only time is self-defense. That's for war or for us on the streets, guys. That's when you go to war, is when somebody's going to go into war with you. And there are fringes there too, like this Soleimani thing. That should have happened 5 years ago. They had this guy in their sights in 2015, and Obama called off Israel. Israel was going to bomb this guy. This guy had to go. It was for the betterment of mankind. He was a monster. He was one of the guys that he just got his military tribunal. Think of it that way. Because we're in battle right now, guys. Well, this is a war going on. And that's why I keep saying, it's treason. You don't criticize the president in the time of war. And there has never been a bigger war in history than what's going on right now. Even though we're not seeing the shots fired, shots are being fired. And thank God it's not as violent as what the alternative would have been with Hillary in a nuclear war or a civil war. If Hillary gets in, it's a nuclear war or civil war. That's our options. Millions die. And where I thought that, the EU was going to have it rough and other globalist countries, I'm starting to lean and think that we all might get through this clean. There may be areas where there's some judgment coming from God, and we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I know where I'm going. I'm going to Arizona. I think there's ground there that's going to be protected. So we'll see how it plays out. Okay, I think I've done with what I want to say. Let's see what we got for questions here. Discernment, guys. The most important tool you can have right now. Chad, how you doing? Randy, what's up? Corey, how's it going? JC? Tessie, hello. Gary. Christine, hello. Kathleen, hello. Lisa, I apologize. Things have been kind of hectic around here the last few days, so I have I still have to get a hold of Scott. I dropped the ball there. It was completely my fault on Monday with Scott. So I'll straighten that all out. So basically what's going on, guys, is Lisa's been kind enough to help us get caught up on getting our live chats transferred to YouTube and our website. And hopefully by next week, if I can get my in together, we'll have most of it transferred. Oh crap, what'd I do here? My big fingers. If somebody has a better way to do this, I'm all ears, guys, because with my fingers. I thought about getting a pencil with an eraser on it. I don't know if that'll work. Yes, let's trust me, guys. I think, and think about this, whether it's true or not, it'll help us be better prepared. That this monkey show we got going with the impeachment is a way to lull us into their incompetence, right? Oh, these guys, they can't do anything right. The next tricks they have coming, I think, will be pretty big. And they might drag out for a little bit. We'll see. I think it'll become much more clear, as time goes on. It's becoming more clear every day. Nobody knows the day or time, but I think it's coming. I think we're close to it happening, guys. And I'm the first one to admit, what I do is I try and get you guys prepared. I'm going to be early on purpose because I can't have us late. I'd much rather be 5 years early than a day late. All right. Well, you guys must have been listening. Not many questions, and that's good because I'm going to wrap it up. Think about what I said. Anybody that, and listen, I don't want anybody to get the wrong message here. I talked yesterday about, getting a hold of me. Um, if there's anything that I'm saying that just isn't fitting with what you believe, I want you to message me or get a hold of me. Call, text me. My phone number's all over now. Don't be afraid to use it. Because I want you guys to be on board with what's happening here. And I think most of the issues here have been me either not getting the signals, like with the foundation of the church and the Litecoin and the silver. Just, it's a natural, and I should have been saying it different all along. It's the same thing. It's just a different emphasis. And the emphasis is on the foundation, because that's what's going to change the world, is getting everybody in a fresh start on the same page with the same mindset, and showing them a different option than just being out for yourself. Everybody can achieve great things in what's coming. It's going to be on how smart you are, how prepared you are, how hard you're willing to work. There's never going to be a better time to prosper than in the world that's coming. That's what God wants to happen. That's what President Trump wants to happen. That's all I want to happen. Anybody that's saying anything different, red flag. Okay, guys, remember, there's no more important message that I could give you than there is nothing to fear. There's no reason to be fearful when you're mentally, physically, and spiritually prepared. If you're fearful, you need more work, because you're not prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually if you're fearful. I am waiting for this. I can't wait. The only advantage to it taking longer is we can wake up more people. Every day that goes by, we get somebody else. So whenever God's ready, I'm ready. That's the way we have to look at this. We can't, that it doesn't happen next week or whatever. It's going to happen on God's time now. It's not our job to decide when it happens. It's our job to do our job, which is getting people ready for it to happen. Let's focus on that. If we do that, we're doing God's work. Fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. I'll see you tomorrow night, 5 o'clock Pacific. God bless.